It's 2001 and picture this. You are CEO of some company. You are a senior officer of some sort. Or maybe you are a president. So you want a vehicle that will transport you from point A to B. And not just transport you, carry you in style to match your style and also your status. So you had a myriad of options and I'll give you 4. 1. The W220 Mercedes S-Class. 2. The Lexus LS 430. 3. The Audi A8 D3. Or you could have this. The BMW 7 Series E65 generation. Traveling in style. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever time you are watching this from, welcome to another episode of Auto Insights. My name, as always, is Mason Juguna, and today I have a very interesting review for you guys. Lakini najua kuna mtu ata complain, aseme, ay, jamaa, last time ilikuwa BMW, this time bado ni BMW, but then again, 99% of my friends have BMW. So, kwanza na review ile iko. So if you have an interesting vehicle that you'd love us to showcase or review, whether it's a classic, whether it's a modern one, a luxurious one, or it's a build that you have hidden at your home, please tafuta nini yangu hapa hivi, contacts zangu hapa chini, tutazilink so that gari yako ikuwe showcased, alafu ndio niwaache kuwekelea BMW kila saa muache kucomplain. So leo niko na gari ingine nzuri sana. We have an E65 or what we call a 4th generation BMW 7 Series. Na nataka tuingie, what exactly is this BMW 7 Series, the 4th generation. Na before tuendelee mbali, let us start from the beginning where we had the 1st generation ambayo tunaita E23. So the E23 is the one that has what we call a shark nose. So it was quintessential BMW design to have a shark nose and 4 head lamps. And the E23 was the pioneer for luxury. What do I mean by that? E23 time ilikuja, it was first it was a big vehicle, and so it replaced the E12s and the E3s of the time. It was long. That meant that mtu yote mrefu ama hata mtu yote binadamu angeza kukaa behind the driver comfortably. They had legroom, they had headroom, and the E23 was the first BMW to have the early form of what we call air conditioning. Remember, this is back in the 70s. Also, they were among the first vehicles to have ABS and also airbags. And then this was followed by the next generation ambayo tunaita E32, and E32 pioneered what we call double glazed windows. So double glazed means we have 2 planes of glass instead of 1, and this meant that kelele ya nje haikuwa inaingia ndani. And you can see BMW was quite innovative back then, and the E32 was also the first BMW to have a 12-cylinder engine. This meant that it was among the fastest sedans that were big, that could carry people that were, you know, haikuwa kama Ferraris. Let me use the example of Ferraris where, you know, you had V12s, they were very fast, Lakini hapo nyuma kweli ungebeba mtu? No. So for what they were quite fast. They offered comfort, and they also came with a dual zone climate. What does that mean? The driver and the passenger hawakuwa wanang'ang'ania climate control. Driver angeweka apate upepo baridi, passenger angeweka apate upepo moto, and everyone was happy in that car. Toyota, salamu tu. And then we go to the third generation ambayo tunaita E38. The E38 was the vehicle that pioneered halogen lamps. The first vehicle to have halogen lamps. It was also among the first vehicles to have side curtain airbags. Meaning, gari yako ingegongwa from the side, the driver's door, the passenger's door, zilikuwa na airbags. You are very protected because BMW was all about performance, looking at the driver, and also the safety of the driver and the passenger. We come to the E65, or what we call the 4th generation 7 Series. This one came with a lot. Na hizo sitaziguzilia juu. We are going to be going through them one by one. Nikiwaonesha the exterior of this vehicle, nikiwaonesha the interior of this vehicle, and then we are going to look at the performance, how it drives. Does it meet BMW's slogan of the ultimate driving machine, at the same time being able to carry dignitaries, important people, and can it handle both worlds in a good way? Tutajua hiyo yote. So wacha tuanzie na the design of this vehicle. The design of the E65 BMW generation was designed by a guy called Chris Bangle. Na hii generation kuna venye ilisumbua watu wengi wenye walikuwa BMW fans. Reason because the design at first, this for example being the pre-facelift, it was kind of ilikuwa na look ingine yenye watu si wengi walifurahishwa sana, na we can say it was polarizing. Wengine waliipenda, wengine hawakuipenda. Mimi sisemi comment yangu for now, but even if the design was a bit off from what we had previously seen by BMW, we can see the grills were maintained. So BMW decided to maintain the grills, and the fact that they started with vehicles with quad headlamps meant that they continued with that design right here. Tukiangalia mataa, we can see, even though it's a bit modernized, we can see the individual lenses. The lens itself has cutouts, almost showing the design of the quad headlamps. And these headlamps the later generation of the HIDs zenye walikuwa wameintroduce in the previous generation, which was called the E38 7 Series. Na tukikuja hapa, we can see it also has washers, not wipers. The washers in this are quite sophisticated. The jet yenye inatupwa hapa kutoka kwa these washers ni high intensity, hence the lack of the need to have wipers. So the jet from these washers, we call them washers. Wengine wanaziita wipers, not really, because the wiper is that mechanical item that moves to clean. This one has washers. Washers ziko hapa. When the headlights are dirty, there's a button you press inside. I'll show you. This part pops up, sprays water, high pressurized water from the nozzles inside here. Inaosha headlights zako zinakuwa safi. Again, from the E30 nilisema that feature is supposed to be seen in vehicles that are doing off-road work. So BMW, it's just engineers trying to outdo their competitors. Tukiangalia the bumper, we can see some round items ambazo kuna mtu anaweza shangaa, what are these things? Zinakaa kama covers za bolts or nuts or screws. No, they are not. Hizi zinaitwa parking sensors, and the work of parking sensors in such a vehicle. You see, the 7 Series is one of the largest vehicles that BMW produces. For context, kama hujui sana kuhusu BMW, we can look at Mercedes, the S-Class. Very long, around 5 meters in length. So gari kubwa kama hiyo, definitely you will be wanting to know what exactly is in front of you and what is in the rear. And this is just before cameras za kuwekwa mbele na nyuma were introduced. So they had these parking sensors. The E65 was not the first one to have them. It's just that it was a carryover from the E32, the E38 to this one. How they help a driver. When you get close to an object, either in front or behind, we have what we call either sonar technology or radar technology. It sends beams in form of radio waves. The moment they bounce back, they tell the vehicle, this is the distance of the object from your bumper. So it's calibrated in a way that it will calculate the distance and beep depending on how close or how far the items or objects are. Very helpful for such a long vehicle, such a large vehicle, especially in tight parking spots. Tukiangalia hapa chini, we can see that this one is not like the most sporty model. So it has a regular bumper. We have inlets right here. And so just like the E30, some of the air is channeled towards the brakes. Remember, BMW is the ultimate driving machine. They are thinking about drivers, even though you are a corporate individual, unafanya kazi kwa ofisi. Jioni pengine unataka kuendesha gari yako in a spirited manner and you don't want your brakes to overcook. That is very dangerous when they get hot. You will experience something we call brake fade. Okay, experience brake fade, that is when you push your pedal to the floor, lakini kenye ina happen ni kidogo sana. Effect ni kidogo. Why? Because your brakes are hot. So that vent, some of the air is channeled towards the brakes. So coming to the side profile of the 4th generation BMW 7 Series, or what we call the E65, we can see the long hood, which is a quintessential design of BMWs. This one, for example, has an inline 6 engine. So definitely you need a long hood. Lakini pia kuna kitu watu wanasemanga kuhusu long hoods za BMW. Sijui kama ni myth ama ni misconception ama ni nini, but I want you to demystify this. Wanasema the longer the bonnet, the lower the chances of you getting hurt, for example in an accident. Kwa sababu there is a lot of structure going to be protecting you. Sijui kama ni ukweli, but kama una agree na hiyo ama uko na maoni yako different, please write down a comment tujue ni ukweli ama why do they have long hoods apart from the fact that they have long inline engines. So tukiendelea hapa kwa the side mirrors, ziko na divots ama vitu zinakaa kama bumps. Pia hiyo nataka mtu atujibu, zinakuanga za kazi gani? I've heard they are called vortex generators, and I've also seen the same design on the Land Cruiser 200 series kwa mataya ya nyuma. We have a similar design. Nitaekelea picha for those who might be wondering naongelea nini, but pia hiyo nataka utuelezea these divots ama bumps ama whatever they are called zinakuanga za kazi gani. Now going back hapa mbele kidogo, the E65 had several types of rims to choose from, and these ones being 18s, they quite suit the car. They are not flashy and they're also not dull. So mtu yote wa business ama the business class, the executives, this is an executive sedan, so una expect rims that are not flashy and also rims that are not dull. And this is exactly what we have here. These are 18s and they are wrapped in 245 by 50s, which 50s is going to mean iko na meat kidogo na itaongezea to the comfort of the vehicle, the ride comfort of the vehicle. Looking at the window, all this trim, we can see that we have chrome trim. Chrome trim in BMWs inaweza maanisha two things. One, it could mean you have an expensive vehicle. Two, it could mean that you have a cheap vehicle at the same time. How that works is BMW has a division called the M division where they make powerhouses of vehicles. So M2, M3, M4, M5, and you'll never find such kind of trim whether ni kwa dirisha ama ni huku nyuma. Why? Because the M is supposed to be mean looking. So this is interchanged for black. But in terms of luxury, mtu akona do anataka kuona vitu shiny. Okay? And so this one has chrome trim everywhere, trying to signify that this is an elegant vehicle. This is owned by someone who has things, cash money. All right, moving on to the side, and I'm going to be talking about these doors. Hizi milango ziko na a very interesting feature. It's part of what we call the comfort access. Comfort access tutaiongelea mahali, a segment we call what goes wrong mechanically, because even though it's a good thing, the number of years that these vehicles have been roaming on earth means that they could be susceptible to failure. But hizo tutaongelea baadaye, wacha niache kuharibu. So comfort access, hii gari iko na kitu inaitwa soft close doors. What does that mean? Ukifungua mlango uiekelee inajifunga yenyewe. Yes, sio magic, sio uongo. We'll have a close-up shot which will be taken by my director Michael, and I know he'll do a good job. Nikifungua hii mlango, an executive sedan, you're not supposed to be banging the door. And even when I bang the door, you can hear that it has a very solid sound. But that is not how you're supposed to be closing the door. You're not supposed to be using a lot of effort to close the door. Well, leta tu mlango hapa, and the vehicle does it for you. You can hear the sound of the electric motor doing its thing. You just leave it, inajifunga yenyewe. Now, moving on to the side profile of this vehicle. Yes, this vehicle is quite long. Why? Because it's a 7 series. We have the 3 series, we have the 5 series, and we have the 7 series. 7 series is supposed to be the best of the best in terms of sedans by BMW. And so, looking at the rear, tunaona the length of this vehicle is quite long, and it's not even long. There's another version of this called the E65 7 series generation yenye inakuanga na LI. What does LI mean? LI inamaanisha it's the long wheelbase version of this vehicle. So hii ukiangalia vizuri unaona it's not that elongated, because the LIs have like a weird design where they zinakuwa na ka proportion ingine yenye it's not that good looking, but they add like, you know, I don't know how many millimeters of space, but what I know is they are quite big, and even inside it reflects. Doesn't mean that this one is small though. Space ya hapa ndani, let me tell you my friend, it is heavenly. Back to the sidelines. We can see this line cutting across from the side repeater all the way to the rear fender. You know, this has been BMW's design since way back in the 70s. Now, you know, every time they do it, they make sure imekuja imekata hapa tu ndani kwa mataa. You know, they try to make it, you know, have some lines, have some shape, some beautiful shape. And ukiangalia, you know, it brings some depth. Isikuwe tu ni kama kimandazi tu kimefura. You know, it brings some depth, especially in such a dark colored car. You can see that inakuonesha exactly where this curve is ending and where this other curve is starting. So finally at the side we have this, kuna mtu anashangaa why we have a shark looking feature. something that looks like a shark's fin, and it's called a shark fin. Well, shark fin kazi yake, it houses the antennas for the radio and sometimes even the GPS and satellite navigation. So ukiona hii kitu inakaa kama fin ya shark, sio design tu ya kujifurahisha. This is where some of the antennas are housed, and also some lie inside the rear glass of this vehicle. Finally, we come at the rear of the E65 4th generation BMW 7 Series. Najua kuna mtu hapa ametuma zile emoji za kale ka face ka red, kametoa moto, amekasirika. This is what we call the Bango Bat. Yes, najua inakaa matusi, lakini like I said, this vehicle was designed by a guy known as Chris Bango. And this being the rear side of the vehicle, inaitangwa the Bango Bat. Yes, bat for buttocks. Now, the reason it was called that is because people did not agree with his design. The way that the boot, hii line inakuja inakatia hapa, the lights are outside, and then we have this slit inside. People were complaining that it did not look like a BMW. It did not look minimalistic. It looked more like a Lexus or any other Japanese model. Na sisi hatutaongelea sana about how controversial it was, na hatuta criticize Chris Bango because personally I think it looks good. This one actually looks better than the M6 of the same generation. Hata sitaitaja jina because that car in the rear was really ugly. But this one, on the other hand, we have very good looking lights, and also because the car is quite wide, it flares inside, and so the lights come from outside to the inside. Na haziingii kwa hii line ya boot. BMW has a way of playing with lines. Kuna line imekuja imekata hapa almost like a diamond cut, imekata hivi, and then it smoothens, you know, it smoothens at the same time giving you a sharp design, meaning that anytime unaona a smooth line, that means hiyo ni comfort. Lakini wakati unaona a sharp line, that is meant for sporty cars. Picture a Lamborghini, mata yake inakaanga like, you know, chiso, inaka lines ambazo ni sharp. That is the same design they're using here, at the same time incorporating the roundness ambayo inakufanya ufeel uko comfortable. So round at the edges and sharp at the inside, you know, trying to tell you and trying to hint at you that this vehicle is meant to be comfortable and meant to perform very well. Tukiangalia hapa ndani, we can see some lights hapa ndani, na kuna mtu anashangaa, why do we have an extra set of lights hapa ndani? So hizi lights are what we call fog lights. Yes, sija confuse. It's a BMW, it's a German machine, and most German vehicles and other European manufacturers make sure that they have the front and rear fogs. So this one, wakati kuna fog, some part of this is going to be lighting up, so that and by the fog, kuna venye tunafaa tueleze about fog lamps, how they work. Fog lamps zinakuanga na very high intensity light, so that no matter how thick the fog is, it's going to be cutting through that hazy looking substance ama hiyo kitu inakaa moshi. It's a very sharp light. Hii huwezi kosa kuiona, even though kunaweza kuwa na variants ambazo zilikuwa zinatumia the old kind of bulbs. You know, from this generation onwards, even the E38, they came with bulbs that, you know, even the design of the lens venye imedesigniwa ni in a way that it's going to be cutting through the smoke, the fog, anything yenye inakaa moshi, haze, itaweza kucut through, and you will be able to see the vehicle in front or the vehicle behind you, depending on where you are. Now, that is a very good safety feature. Most manufacturers sijui mbona wafanyi hivyo. Don't know if it's cutting costs ama ni lack of the relevance of those technologies or ideas, sijui, but this is something we should be seeing, especially hata tuseme everywhere, because wakati fog can come anytime, mist can come anytime. Make sure you have a vehicle that mtu anaweza kuona nyuma, anaweza kuona mbele. Sorry for talking a lot about lights. Tuingie kwa the parking sensors. These are the same parking sensors nilikuwa nimeongea about at the front. They do the same works, then nitarudia what they do. We have the reverse lights and they have their own strip, and BMW tried to play with the design of this strip. Unapata the lights are at the edges, but if you look at this bit, inakaa ni kama it's a whole light bar, even though inawaka huku mwisho, and they cleverly hid the button for the boot. So let's go inside the trunk, and before hata tuingie, you know, kama unaenda unafungulia boot huko kwa gari, sijui unavuta a latch alafu unakuja kuinua. Look at this, you just press a button, unaiondokea, inafanya kazi yake. How awesome is that? Na msiangalie hiyo boot, it has most of our equipment, the equipment we are shooting this review with. But what I can tell you guys, the boot space in this vehicle is more than enough. Well, sijui mtu anaweza kuwa unataka kubeba nini, but for most practical users, you know how practical it is, this one is going to be able to cater for most of your needs. Na before tufunge hii boot, kwa sababu director ananiambia inakaa vibaya, sorry guys, we are going tutachukua shots zingine after tumetoa hizi vitu, we just can't play them on the road. So looking at the design of this boot, tutaongelea vitu mbili tatu. So we have a light here, and if you had not guessed it, the moment umefungua boot katikati ya barabara or at the side of the road, we have this light ambayo itakuwa inawaka red, so that it will warn users who might not be seeing you, tuseme hauna reflector, because ukiwa CEO kweli na umebebwa na hii gari, dereva wako atakuwa amevaa reflector ama wewe pia utakuwa umevaa reflector kweli? No, your only chance ya safety ni this light ambayo itakuwa inawaka wakati umefungua boot, and I think it's only supposed to be working at night. We also have this button here. Na looking at newer models za BMW, zimekuwa zikikuwa na buttons mbili, moja ya kufunga boot na moja ya kufunga boot pamoja na kulock hiyo boot. So this one, for example, if you press this button, it's only going to close the boot for you, but it's not going to lock it. Nikifunga hivyo, boot imefungika, yes, but the vehicle is not locked. Anyone can enter your vehicle anytime. So make sure umejua hiyo feature haimaanishi ukifinya hapo alafu uende uache gari yako hapo. Haija lock, imefunga tu boot. Okay? So tutamalizia na these letters, because hizi ni vitu ambazo watu wengi huwa hawa understand. The first letter tells you the series of the vehicle. In this instance, we are talking about the 7 series. So it's going to be starting with the 7. The 3 and the 0 is pronounced as 30. So this one will be 730i. So the 30 is going to be a representation of the capacity of the engine. So we have the 730i, the 735i, the 745i, the 750i, all those, hata kama si the closest in terms of numbers. Kama ni hii 3 liter, this one means 3 liter by the way. So kama ni 30, that is 3 liter. Kama ni 40, that is a 4 liter. Kama ni 45, that is a 4.5 liter. The 750 inamaanisha hiyo ni V12 and it was a 5 liter. The I, on the other hand, means it's petrol. I means petrol, D means diesel. So ingekuwa ni 730D, that means it would have been a 3-liter diesel. Sawa sawa? If you have questions kuhusiana na namings za BMW, kindly make sure you reach out to me.
Unangoja nini? Cheza tatua tatu saa hii. Kujani tufune.
Ni msimu wa kuvuna chapa na tatua tatu. Kuna guaranteed 1,300 vuna cash baada ya kila nusu saa na daily vuna bonus ya 1,100 kila Jumapili. Unaweza vuna hadi nusu milioni ama tuktuk ndani ya Tatua Bonanza Live na zawadi zinginezo. Vuna chapa leo na tatua tatu. Ingia kwa M-Pesa paybill number 150 account
Hota.
Amount ni shilingi 10 hadi shilingi 1,000.
Over 18s only. Gaming can be addictive. Play.
Gakonyito geni Nyeri Computers tuheanaga motungata ma wendia wa thimu mithemba yothe undu umwe na cia kuriha kahora kahora wendia wa laptop computers, desktop computers, TV mithemba yothe, sound systems, electronic appliances ta friji, mashini cia kuhura nguo, dispenser na ingĩ nyingĩ. Tucerere Nyeri Town, Nyeri Clothing Building kana utuhurire thimu kugerera 0726 807-801. Nyeri Computers, your tech future.
Tugata kikirike ni kuri ukigurira ngari njirwa kana ngari huthire na hukurehero ngari njiru shua Waka Ventures tukurehe motungata maya mothe uhaurie wikinyike wajini gitu kia wendi wa ngari hari sikutanyirie wicagurire iria gukenia na guthogora turengete fiu oho tukuraga na motungata ta Waka Insurance Consultancy, Asset Management, Digital Speed Governance, wendi wa gas cia kuruga kuria tukurehagira uhariurie no tukuraga na kawo cia kiriu na cyber services. Tucerere kana utuhurire thimu kugira namba 0725-204-131 kana 0708-280-988. Tucerere ona yotorithia yaku.
The interior of the E65 4th generation BMW 7 Series. Na tukianzia na the steering, it's quite big and it also has, contours where you can place your hands comfortably for a very sporty feeling drive or when you are driving spiritedly. Now, the driving position of this vehicle is very adjustable. So tukiangalia hapa at this armrest, we have very many controls. We have lumbar. Lumbar is just lumbar is just behind here, where it's going to be supporting your back. So you control that with this. We have a knob, so you select that and then you twist it, something will be moving inside. Wow. And you can also set memory seats, both for the passenger and the driver. Not in the rear though, because this is not the Li. So if I press and hold this button, you are going to see the seat do some things. So for example, you can see it's taking me back and starting to recline. Na hii ni feature mzuri kwa sababu this means that the owner of this vehicle ameset design yenye number 2, it's a relaxing mode. If I press number 1, it's going to bring me forward a bit, and then the back inaanza kuinuka juu. And guys, I'm only pressing one button. Hakuna button nyingine nimefinya. And we have a myriad of controls to change the position to exactly what we have. The steering wheel, as usual BMW, it's telescoping and it's electric. So unaweza ileta hivi juu, unaweza ipeleka mbele, unaweza ipeleka chini, unaweza ipeleka juu, depending on the driving feel that you want to be having. Looking at the cluster and the dials, everything is well labeled, everything is where it's supposed to be. A bit different for the Japanese guys kwa sababu signal and signal inakuanga on the left side kwa BMW, and this one is a very special one kwa sababu the gear selector looks like the turn signal of some vehicle, and it has quite some nice material hapa, and we have cruise control hapa chini, and we have the wiper selector hapa chini as well on the right side of the steering wheel. Towards the other end we have the light controls. This one actually has auto headlamps, kona fogs za mbele na nyuma. We have the trunk button, and this one is one of the vehicles ambazo zilipioneer e-brakes, e-parking brakes, meaning we don't have the usual handbrake. Hii ni button unafinya, alafu handbrake ina engage. Looking at the infotainment, one thing I can notice is that hakuna buttons mingi hapa. Why? Because most of the features ambazo unafaa kuwa unatumia ziko ndani ya screen, thanks to BMW's iDrive system. So iDrive is this knob that you can control up, down, press, inside. Inaweza control vitu mingi sana, from the climate to the lights. Very many things unaweza control right inside here. The key, as you can see, ndio unaweka hapa. Actually, the key has 2 keys, if that makes sense. We have the key fob itself, and we have the emergency key. So you press this button, and then you remove this. Hii inatumika tu wakati wa emergency. For example, if this key fob dies in terms of battery or it starts malfunctioning, you can be able to access the car using this. But you cannot start the car without the fob, because the key fob ndio unaweka hapa ndani, it reads, and then after it identifies the key has been coded to this vehicle, inakupea access to whether you can start the vehicle, whether you can listen to music, whether you can do things inside this vehicle. Looking at the center console, we have what appears to be wood trim. We have leather on top where you place your hands, and tunaweza sema about this, this part, it's very comfortable, by the way. Placing your hand here, cruising, this is going to be a nice feeling for whoever drives this kind of vehicle. We also have a small cubby here where you can place your coins. Mtu ananunua 7 series sijui mbona anaweza kuwa na coins, but we have a secondary cubby where you can place your business cards. Hapa actually the owner of this vehicle ameweka cards zake za business, and so you can see the kind of vehicle the kind of person this vehicle is tailored towards. On the other side we have a reasonably sized glove box, and everything is easy to reach, everything is in the right position. Kila kitu iko mahali unaweza fikia, mahali unaweza finya. Even the position of the iDrive is in a way that unaweza tumia even while you're driving without taking your attention sana off the road, kwa sababu ingekuwa ni kitu unaanza kufinya huko. This one you're just trying the dials, you press inside, you know, and it's very intuitive, very good system that BMW introduced. And we are even seeing you know, other manufacturers trying to copy Mercedes-Benz. Every material around the vehicle, ukiguza una feel tu ni comfortable, ni soft to touch. There's nothing that is feeling plasticky. Hata huku chini sijui kiatu ina-enjoy leather huku chini, mbona the carpet is velvet-ish. One thing I noticed about the lights though, it only works when you open the door or even when you press them actually. So ukifinya, they have that effect of fading away, not just turning off. Even how they light up, inawaka pole pole, inakusoothe kama mtu akona pesa. Mtu akona pesa hafinyi kitu, inawaka tu pa, hata itamshtua, atapata heart attack. So hey, ukifinya, you know, it fades out, you know, giving you calmness, reminding you that you are in an expensive vehicle. You worked for it, so it should be able to deliver. One interesting thing yenye tulikuwa tumeona kwa the E30 Touring ambayo BMW has, you know, carried over is the hazard. The hazard button turns on, you know, it lights up as well. I've not seen this in any other manufacturer's vehicle. Na kama iko, tafadhali to correct, utuambie ni gani, so that we'll look for that vehicle and try to review it. But this is a very subtle but awesome feature. Unafinya hazard yako inawaka kwa hiyo button, as well as the gauge cluster. Very nice BMW. Also, kitu ingine nitaongelea without demonstrating is the sound system in this vehicle. It's stock, and definitely being a luxurious vehicle, the sound coming from these speakers is amazing. Sitacheza ngoma kwa sababu ya copyright, and unfortunately I did not carry any of my non-copyright sounds zenye tungetest, but trust me, nikikwambia the sound coming from this, you know, they might look tiny, but wow, the sound stage is awesome. The sub is mwah. The entry-level 730i originally came with a 3-liter N62 B30 V8 engine, producing 231 horsepower and 300 Newton meters of torque. However, after the 2005 facelift, BMW replaced it with the N52 B30 inline 6, like the one we have here today, which made 258 horsepower, offering better efficiency while maintaining performance. The 735i featured a 3.6-liter N62 B36 V8 with 272 horsepower, while the 745i used a 4.4-liter naturally aspirated N62 B44 V8, delivering a whopping 333 horsepower, 450 Newton meters of torque, all paired with a 6-speed automatic. For ultimate luxury, the 760i and the 760Li housed a 6-liter N73 V12, producing 439 horsepower and 600 Newton meters of torque, making it BMW's first direct injected V12. On the diesel side, the 730D used a 3-liter M57 straight 6 turbo diesel, offering 218 horsepower and 500 Newton meters of torque, while the 740D packed a 4-liter M67 twin turbo V8 diesel, delivering 258 horsepower and 600 Newton meters of torque. With a blend of performance, efficiency and refinement, the E65 set new standards for BMW's flagship sedan. Driving the E65 Generation 7 Series. First things first, this car is wafting along the road. Hakuna kitu nasikia imperfections ama anything. It's very comfortable. Na kitu naweza sema about the power, wow, the power delivery on this car is smooth, effortless, amazing. You know, BMW is all about the driving experience. And so hata nikikanyanga hivi mafuta, I feel it's effortless, high struggle, and then it's smooth. It's a 7 Series. It's meant to carry executives. You're not supposed to be bouncing and jerking around. And tukiingia hapa kwa intersection, it picks up very nicely. It gets up and goes. Alafu hapa kuna tu bumps tudogo. Let's feel how it will behave. Wow. Kitu ina absorb tu vizuri, haikurushi juu, you know, and then the rebound is well controlled, very well damped. Another set of bumps right here. Chatusikie, even the pedal feel of the brake is, you know, smooth. I feel ni kama the power nini brakes zina ingia tu once zina interfere. Steering feel of this vehicle is insane. Hii gari ni light kabisa. The steering feel is a bit numb for what I'd like, but again, it's a 7 Series. It's not designed to race on the track. So hata unaweza endesha na kidole moja tu very easily. And then as you can see, it picks up very nicely. More than enough power to overtake. And wow, it's very quiet in here. Na feel kama mdosi fulani. You know, when you have money, you don't want to be listening to noise. Utai kusikia. In fact, nikiweza pandisha hii nini, ikio, it becomes very quiet. Road noise very minimal. Alright, tumefika kwa hiyo segment ambayo watu wengi hawapendi sana, and it's what goes wrong mechanically with this E65 generation BMW 7 Series. Quite a mouthful for a name of a vehicle, but mechanically tuanzie na tutaweka into two segments. So we have the electrical failures and we have the mechanical failures. So in terms of electrical, the first issues that you're going to be seeing in these vehicles, ya kwanza ni kitu inaitwa iDrive. So iDrive is the system that BMW uses for the infotainment. Infotainment in layman's language ni radio, navigation, that screen that you see at the center. And so sometimes it's laggy, unapata inaanza kuhang, and this car has what we talked about earlier when we were reviewing it about the details. Iko na vitu zinaitwa parking sensors. So the parking sensors, as I said, zinakusaidia wakati una park. They tell you the distance between the obstacle and the vehicle. And so kama iDrive ina fail ama ina hang na ina lag, remember that these parking sensors zina communicate na the screen so that they can tell you exactly where the object is. And so ikifail, umejipata kidogo bumper umevunja kwa mawe ama kwa obstacle, and so that is unajipata uko kwa a very difficult situation. Another issue ambayo ina happen kwa hizi gari ni battery drain. So battery drain, because this vehicle, as we said earlier, has very many complex modules ambazo zina monitor gari, from rain sensors, computers ni mingi kwa hii gari, and so ukiacha overnight gari unapata battery ilinyonya yote kwa sababu imekuwa ikimonitor some parameters hapa na kule. And then the last electrical issues zenye unaweza pata ni the key fob, ambayo ni funguo, the key that you use to access your car. And so this car, for example, venye tuliongelea, iko na kitu inaitwa comfort access. So you don't need the key to open the car. It only has to be in your pocket. Unakaribia gari, inajifungua. It has what we talked about yenye inaitwa soft close. Inaitwa soft close. And so electrical gremlins zikianza kuhappen, unapata saa nyingine umefungiwa ndani ya nje ya gari yako. Uko nje, you can't access your vehicle because electrical issues zimeanza kucheza. Unapata hii computer zisikizani na hii funguo yako, antenna imeanza kufail, and so hizo ndi the electrical issues zenye zinaweza kuwa zikipatikana kwa hii gari. Moving on to the engine and the mechanical side of things, Kitu ya kwanza tunaweza ongelea ni watu wanasemanga BMW na jina reliability haziwezi kuwa kwa sentence moja. Well, gari za kitambo zina hold some truth to that, and tunaweza sema these vehicles when they were released zilikuja na a myriad of issues, and so one thing, BMW without leaks, hiyo si BMW tafadhali. You have bought yourself a Toyota. So this E65 generation 7 series, depending on the engine, most of them zilikuwa na coolant leaks. Now the leaks used to happen around the expansion tank, and so coolant ikianza kuleak, my friend, you're in very big trouble because your vehicle is going to overheat. Na gari iki overheat, you know, gasket, head gasket inaenda, and then you start having very many issues related to heating. Another mechanical issue ni the gearbox in these vehicles. They came with a ZF 6-speed. Na sometimes watu walikuwa na complain about jerky shifting. Jerky shifting inamaanisha ina shift into a gear sometimes when it's not supposed to, or it downshifts when it's supposed to upshift, and so you feel like the vehicle is inaruka ina shift wakati fai, alafu saa ingine ina delay kushift. And then we also had drive shaft issues, and the drive shaft mahali imeconnectiwa, that seal ilikuwa ina fail, and when it fails your vehicle will start vibrating. Tukimalizia na the issues za E65 generation, which is the 4th generation of the 7 series, these vehicles zilikuwa zinapata failures za sunroof. So if your vehicle came equipped with a sunroof na hujai replace the seals, well, you might be lucky, and also you might be one of the unlucky people who will have leaks. Wakati kuna nyesha unajipata unafeel ni kama uko nje. You are one with nature when your sunroof starts leaking. Na sunroof yako ikianza kuleak, then mambo yako ni mbaya, kwa sababu these vehicles have a lot of electronics inside. So maji wakati inaingia hapo ndani, my friend, sijui mambo yako inaweza enda aje. We also had window actuator failures on these vehicles, and so window actuators are those gadgets ambazo zinaweza kuinua the dirisha. They are connected to the motor, and so when you press the button for up or down, dirisha inaweza panda ama iteremke, and so if it fails, you have an issue with your window. Haiwezi enda juu ama haiwezi enda chini. And the last issue ni the fuel pump. Fuel pump failure due to either dirt in our fuel ama just because of age. You know, these cars are very delicate, and so if your fuel pump goes, kitu kwanza, you are going to be having a hard start. Hard start ni ile it's cranking lakini haingurumi, ama it's cranking for a very long time before it actually starts. Also, loss of power. Fuel pump yako ikianza kuenda, ukifika kwa mlima or anytime yenye unahitaji ku overtake ama tu just normal acceleration, your vehicle is going to feel underpowered, not because it doesn't have power, but because it's not getting enough fuel, because your fuel pump imeanza kufail. And so that's it for the mechanical segment today. Tumekafungia hapo, tumalizie na the final thoughts. And sadly, we have come to the end of our BMW E65 7 Series review. Now, as we talked about, you know, the interior, the driving impressions, na kila kitu ingine, you guys now have an idea of whether you want one of these vehicles ama unaweza recomendia mtu mwingine. Na hata before tuendelee, I want to give a big shout out to David from Njukiwa for availing this vehicle. Ilikuwa last minute, but he was able to give us the vehicle, ameifuel na haitishi kitu yoyote. So guys, help me appreciate David from Njukiwa kwa sababu ametusaidia tupate insights za BMW E65 7 Series. Now, I also want to give a shout out to Hewanga Motors for being part of this show, sponsor hii show, so that we can be able to bring to you reviews. And also I want to shout out to El Nathan Fitment Garage, ambapo tulishutia what goes wrong with these vehicles. Kimalizia, I'm also hoping that you guys tutakuwa tuna interact. I want you to be telling me which car you want me to bring to you. Ni gari gani unataka tufanye a candid review, tuingie ndani nayo vizuri, tuelewane nayo, na hopefully if you have an interesting vehicle yenye unaweza taka to review, please do so, ndio tuachane na hizi BMWs. I'm not saying BMWs are bad, it's only that most of my friends wako na BMWs. Again, my name is Mason Juguna and this is Auto Insights, the ultimate destination for car enthusiasts and consumers. See you in the next one.
Papa. Lakini mimi naonekana fiti. Wale utaliambia.
Oka ugeko. Oh wow. You're a senior officer of some sort. Hii ingine ilikuwa nini?